Get that cow out of the common area now. It doesn't belong here." She stood on the dirt road, 20 meters from my house, yelling. I replied, calm as could be, "Matilda, ever heard of private property?" But of course, she didn't care. She wanted to flex her power. Then Matilda marched closer to Atlas, pulling out a rifle. Yes, a real gun. Before I could react, she aimed it at him, screaming, "It's ruining my property. I won't stand for it." That moment haunts me to this day. Have you ever watched your property get violated so brutally? Let me tell you the whole story from that day. Drop a comment with 9 so I know you're ready for it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you won't miss the tense twists ahead with me. Wishing you a peaceful day. I'm Caesar, 38, a farmer born and raised in Oregon's quiet countryside. My job's tending a small patch I call home, raising livestock and growing crops to get by. I'm not into noise or flash. I love my freedom, fixing machinery by hand and savoring silent afternoons watching my herd graze the fields. But everything changed when a woman stormed into my life, turning it into an all-out war. That day, I stood frozen as Matilda gripped her rifle, pointing it at Atlas. The bull I'd spent years raising, proudly showing off at local fairs. "It's wrecking my property," she shrieked, voice dripping with smugness. But she forgot one key thing. Nobody messes with someone else's livestock without paying a steep price. That's when Matilda, HOA Karen, made the biggest mistake of her life by targeting my Atlas. Let's rewind 7 months. I own a small farm on the edge of Foxglove Meadows. Not some sprawling estate, just 12 acres, enough for my privacy, a few animals, and my way of life. I'm no city guy. I fit right in with mud on my boots, fixing an old tractor, or watching Atlas chew grass in peace. Life used to be easy, free of HOA nonsense. Then Matilda showed up. She rolled into my world like a dark cloud blotting out the sky. To Matilda, Atlas, my 2,300-pound prize bull, and the natural grass around my house were threats dragging down Foxglove Meadows' value. Can you believe it? A champion bull seen as a real estate problem? Matilda wasn't your average HOA boss. She was obsessed with control, dreaming of shaping the neighborhood into her perfect little picture. Too bad she never got that my freedom, and Atlas, couldn't be squeezed into her neatly trimmed lawn mold. Our first clash was over something laughably petty, my mailbox. She griped it was too big, the color was off, and it sat 10 degrees askew from her rules. I wanted to laugh in her face, but I held back. Then it was my fence. She called it too rustic. Next, my 40-square-meter veggie garden out back, growing tomatoes and pumpkins. Ugly and unapproved, she declared, as if I needed her okay to feed myself from my own land. But I'm not one to back down easy. At first, I ignored her warning letters. Then Matilda started slapping $75 fines on my door, and I knew it was time to act. I'm not big on arguing with words. I'd rather respond with action, all within the law, of course. That's when she got herself into trouble. I decided to show Matilda what property rights mean, to make her see messing with my farm isn't a light matter. Here's where it gets fun. Matilda, lost in her neighborhood control spree, got too cocky with my property. Her house sits on the edge of Foxglove Meadows, right next to my land. One day, I noticed her garden was oddly lush, despite a 3-week drought. Suspicious, I checked it out, and found the truth. She'd secretly tapped my private well to water her yard. No permission, no heads up. She thought I'd never notice. Oh, Matilda, big mistake. I don't take kindly to theft. I could have reported her to the HOA or sued her, but nah, I wanted something memorable. I knew the plumbing she'd rigged to siphon my water, and I knew how to upgrade it my way. Not just shutting it off, I made it an experience Matilda wouldn't forget. Guess what I did? I'll tell you soon, but brace yourself. This story's just heating up. I flushed wastewater from my septic tank into her system. Yup, straight from my septic. I'm not sure if she ever figured it out, but I calculated it. Exactly 150 gallons, enough to wreck her precious garden without major damage, turning it into a rotting mess. The best part? She had no clue. Maybe she thought it was some mystery neighbor's prank, not me, Caesar, turning her green paradise into a gardener's nightmare. So Matilda, HOA Karen, kept sending harassing letters and baseless complaints, thinking she still had the upper hand. She didn't know I was quietly setting her up for a bigger fall. Her next blunder? Messing with Atlas. Let's talk about him. He's no ordinary animal. A star bull, winner at Oregon's livestock fair 4 years running. Big, majestic, loyal, like nothing else I've seen. Atlas isn't some critter you shoo off with a yell. He's my pride, trained for 14 months, every hair on him perfect. He's friendly too. But to Matilda, he was just a nuisance that didn't fit her perfect foxglove meadows vision. One September afternoon, a neighbor texted me. Matilda was out front, yelling that Atlas trashed her flower beds. I knew Atlas sometimes grazed near her fence, but he's no garden wrecker. Matilda saw it differently. She'd been ticked about him for 5 months, and to her, this was the last straw. She brought 3 HOA cronies, stormed my land, and turned a tiny issue into a laughable showdown. She stood on the dirt road, 20 meters from my house, shouting, "Get that cow out of the common area. It doesn't belong here." I replied, cool as ever, "Matilda, ever heard of private property?" She didn't care. She wanted to flex. Then she marched toward Atlas, pulled out a rifle, a real one. Before I could move, she aimed it at him, screaming, "It's ruining my property. I won't let it slide." I don't like head-on fights, but no one touches my livestock, especially over some petty HOA nonsense. My heart pounded, but I stayed cool. Atlas kept chewing grass, clueless about the chaos brewing. This was it, the deciding moment. I couldn't let her off easy, and I knew it was time to push back. Then it hit me. The law doesn't let anyone shoot someone else's animal. Matilda was about to learn that the hard way. As I stood there watching her aim at Atlas, time seemed to stretch forever. I wasn't panicked or even that shocked. This was just the next step in the 7-month war she'd started, but this time she'd gone too far. A grown woman ready to kill my bull over some grass. It was so crazy I almost laughed, if it weren't so serious. Her hands shook, but she tried to look confident. I knew one thing. Nobody can harm livestock without a damn good reason. Atlas wasn't some wild beast tearing through foxglove meadows. He didn't charge her or cause trouble. He just stood there, munching like always, ignoring the world. To Matilda, though, he was everything she hated about my farm, everything she couldn't control. "Get that cow off my land now!" she yelled, finger on the trigger. She looked tense, but I didn't let her see me flinch. I stood still, hands out front, trying to keep things from getting worse. "Matilda," I said, voice low but firm, "you sure you want to do this? Atlas hasn't done anything. You're the one stirring up trouble." "It's ruining my garden," she screamed again. "I spent $300 on those flowers. I'm not letting it wreck them that easy." I fought to stay calm, though anger boiled inside. This wasn't about Atlas, never was. It was about Matilda and her control obsession. I wasn't letting her bully me anymore. Atlas, maybe sensing something, stepped back 2 paces. He's not a troublemaker, but he won't stand still under threat either. I didn't want him spooked, or to deal with an unhinged woman with a gun. "Put the rifle down, Matilda," I said, voice harder now. "You shouldn't do this. The law's clear and you'll pay for it." She smirked, brushing me off. "The law? Don't lecture me. This is my property. I can defend it." I could hardly believe my ears. A woman, broad daylight, threatening to shoot my livestock over a garden she claimed as hers. The nerve made me want to yell, but I held back. This wasn't the time to lose it. It was time to act. I had to stop her fast. Instinct screamed to lunge for the gun, but that'd only make a mess worse than an HOA spat. I had to play it smart. Then I remembered, she can't push me around. The law's on my side. Matilda thought she could do anything without fallout, but she missed the obvious. You don't shoot livestock without cause, and she was headed for big trouble. "Matilda, you're digging your own grave," I said, stepping closer. "Shoot Atlas, and you'll regret it forever. You think you're right, but I'll make you pay." She gripped the rifle tighter. "Don't tell me what to do. This is my land. I'll protect it my way." Rage surged inside me. I'd put up with Matilda's nonsense for 9 months, but now she was threatening Atlas, the most precious thing on this land to me. I couldn't let it slide. "Listen, Matilda," I said, stepping closer, voice steady. "I've tolerated you long enough. I ignored your petty complaints, let you waste HOA time with dumb rules and $120 fines. But if you think you can storm my land, aim at Atlas, and walk away, you're wrong. I'll make you regret this." She froze, and for a brief second, I thought I'd gotten through. But then that wild look flared back in her eyes. Matilda was too lost in her delusion of being right, the one in charge. I saw her finger tighten on the trigger. Just as I went to take another step, a loud voice cut through. "Matilda, stop right now." I turned. Spartan, my neighbor, was sprinting from his porch. I hadn't known he'd been watching. Spartan's a quiet guy, a cop for 28 years before retiring, always kind since I moved to Foxglove Meadows. He saw this spiraling out of hand and stepped in. He strode between us, hands up, calm but commanding. "Drop the rifle, Matilda," he said, firm. "You're dead wrong here." Matilda glared, face red with fury. "This isn't your business, Spartan," she snapped, but he didn't flinch. "I think it is," he replied, cool as ever. "You can't shoot someone's livestock without facing serious legal trouble. You're about to dig yourself a big hole. Put it down." The air felt thick, every second dragged. Matilda stood still for 6 seconds, rifle still on Atlas, her anger ready to burst. Then, slowly, she lowered it, eyes defeated but burning with resentment. As she backed off, unease crept into me. This wasn't over. I knew it. Matilda doesn't give up easy. She'd crossed the line, and I was sure she'd try to strike back. I'd be ready. When she left, I let out a long breath, relief mixed with tension. Atlas kept grazing, unbothered, like nothing happened. But I knew this was just the start. I wasn't the only one with a plan, and the next move was mine. The war was on, and I'd just scored first. 4 hours later, word of the gun incident spread through Foxglove Meadows. In a tight-knit place like this, news travels fast. Soon, everyone knew Matilda had aimed at me, and more importantly, at Atlas. Spartan helped big time, sharing the story, even calling the local sheriff. He wouldn't let her off easy, and neither would I. Deep down, though, I knew this wasn't the end. Matilda doesn't lose without a fight, and I don't quit easy either. So I got to work, like always. I couldn't let her keep running wild with HOA power. For 9 months, I'd quietly built a plan to deal with her. Every baseless complaint, call, threatening letter, I'd saved it all. And I had a stronger weapon, the law. This wasn't just about protecting Atlas or my land anymore. I wanted to send a clear message. Matilda had gone too far, and it was time for consequences. I started simple. Expose her hypocrisy. I couldn't sit back while she harassed everyone. I needed the neighborhood to see the real Matilda. I gathered evidence, photos, recordings, anything showing how unhinged she'd gotten. People were scared to speak out, but once the truth hit, they'd have no choice but to turn on her. First, I reached out to neighbors she'd hassled with HOA gripes. 17 of them, fined for silly stuff like parking an RV out front or setting up bird baths that weren't up to code. They'd been fed up with her forever but stayed quiet. Now, I gave them a chance. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was for everyone tired of her petty reign. I'd show them they didn't have to live in fear. I set up a meeting with Spartan, the guy who'd helped with the gun incident. I needed someone who knew the law and could be an ally in this fight. Spartan was a cop for 28 years, not an expert on HOA bullies, but he knew how to handle this. He'd known Matilda for a while too, and he wasn't a fan of her antics. We sat in my living room one Saturday afternoon going over everything I'd collected. Spartan skimmed the HOA rules, and we both laughed at how absurd they were. Grass height limits, approved flower types, even trash cans couldn't be over 80 centimeters long. The HOA wasn't about community, it was about control, with Matilda crowning herself queen. But as Spartan pointed out, she had a weakness, and that was my key to taking her down. "I've been thinking," he said, setting the papers aside. "You've got a solid case. Evidence, witnesses ready to talk about her harassment, but you're missing one thing, going public." I raised an eyebrow. "Public?" He nodded. "Yup. Get this out there. Social media, word of mouth, whatever works. People need to know who Matilda really is. You're not just fighting her, but the whole HOA system. Trust me, plenty of folks want her gone." I like that. I usually handle things solo, but Spartan's idea had a spark. We could turn Matilda's own game against her, make her a cautionary tale. That night, I wrote a post for the Foxglove Meadows Facebook group. No names, just the facts. Endless fines, ridiculous complaints, and Matilda weaponizing the HOA to torment people. I mentioned the gun incident, stressing I wasn't the only victim. Kept it short, professional, but anyone could tell this was going to blow up. I hit post and waited. Comments rolled in fast. People were stunned. Some gasped at the Atlas ordeal. Others were relieved someone finally stood up to Matilda. What shocked me most? How many shared their own stories? Seems everyone had an HOA bullying tale, and now they were ready to speak. By night's end, the post had spread across the neighborhood. Folks shared it, commented, tagged others Matilda had hurt. Within 5 hours, 8 people messaged me, ready to back me up, willing to testify about their own run-ins. Matilda's grip on the community started to wobble. Next morning, she called, fuming, naturally. She'd seen the post and wasn't happy one bit. She tried guilting me, saying I was ruining her reputation, painting her as the villain. I didn't feel a shred of pity. I wasn't backing down. "You brought this on yourself, Matilda," I said. "You can't hide behind your little HOA forever. I'm prepared, and if this goes to court, I'm ready to face you." She threatened to call the cops, but I wasn't fazed. I knew the law, knew exactly what she'd broken. I was ready for anything. This wasn't just a legal fight. It was a social one, too. Matilda messed up big by targeting Atlas, and now, thanks to social media, all of Foxglove Meadows knew. The tide was turning, power shifting my way, and I wasn't letting this chance slip. That afternoon, Spartan and I met again at my place. We went over everything, predicting Matilda's next move, handling the inevitable fallout, and figuring out how to make sure she couldn't wiggle out of this mess. I wasn't letting her off easy, not this time. I was set on making her face the music. But as we planned with Spartan, a fire lit inside me. This wasn't just about Atlas anymore. It was about everyone Matilda had crushed. If she thought she'd win this war, she was in for a harsh wake-up call. She had no clue what was coming. She figured she could bully me into submission, run the HOA, and skate by. Not happening. The fight was just starting, and when I was done, she'd wish she'd never aimed that gun at Atlas. Things escalated fast after my post went up. What started as a small pushback turned into a tidal wave. Comments flooded in, and within 14 hours, it had spread across the neighborhood. People shared their own run-ins. Tons of stories about Matilda tormenting them for 11 years. Soon, a local paper reached out for the scoop. I didn't expect that, but seeing her taste some justice felt damn good. Her little empire of control was cracking, and I savored every second. Matilda didn't take it lying down. The next noon, she showed up at my door, shaking with rage. She wasn't alone. Brought 5 HOA council members, standing behind her like reluctant bodyguards. They said they wanted to talk about the situation, but we all knew the real deal. They were there to intimidate me, force me to take down the post and back off, like they'd done to others before. But I didn't budge. Not this time. I saw desperation in Matilda's eyes. She'd underestimated me, and now she was paying for it. I had solid legal proof and social momentum. Foxglove Meadows was turning on her. She knew it. Folks who'd feared her for years were speaking up, done with her manipulation. I stood there, arms crossed, letting her yell in my face. I wasn't giving her any sign she was winning. "You don't know what you've started," she screamed, voice dripping with spite. "You're ruining everything I built. I'll make you pay. You and that cow. You think you're untouchable?" I let her rant. Her excuses and threats meant nothing, just noise. "Matilda," I cut in, halting her fury, "you've made too many enemies here. You've bullied people for 11 years, but now they're fighting back. I'm just the start." She froze for 3 seconds, like the truth was sinking in. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice low but still hostile. "I mean, I stepped forward, words clear, you live to control people, making lives miserable with your dumb rules and $120 fines. But it's over. The people you've tormented are waking up. You can't hide behind that HOA crew forever. You're done, Matilda." She stiffened, anger mixing with confusion on her face. She was starting to see the fallout of her actions. She'd gone too far, and now it was all crashing down. The more she yelled, the more people pulled away. I saw the council members glance at each other, unsure what to do. They were realizing they'd backed the wrong horse. Matilda wasn't their flawless leader anymore. The tide was turning. They felt it. She tried one last desperate swing. "I'll sue you," she snarled. "That post breaks the law. I'll have you arrested for slander." I saw her grasping for an out, but I wasn't worried. Truth was on my side, and I knew it. "Go ahead," I said, staying cool. "But check your own legal ground first. You can't aim a gun at someone's livestock without fallout. And those HOA fines of yours? Not as legit as you think. You've crossed the line too long." Matilda clenched her jaw, realizing my words hit home. She'd jumped into a risky game, and now it was backfiring. I didn't fear her or her threats. I'd talked to a lawyer 6 days ago. With 24 documents and recordings, I had enough to pin her down. Thanks to that viral post, all of Foxglove Meadows now knew the real Matilda. She had nowhere to hide her power anymore. I watched her, face twisted with frustration. She wanted to lash out, scream, make one final stand, but she was powerless. The people she'd oppressed for 11 years had turned on her. Her support was crumbling, leaving her alone with her resentment. Matilda stormed off, 5 HOA council members trailing reluctantly behind. They didn't know what to do, but I could tell they saw their mistake in blindly following her. Now, they weren't just worried about me, but everyone she'd hurt. They'd seen the support swell after my post, and knew the community wouldn't tolerate her antics anymore. As they left, satisfaction washed over me. I'd done it. I'd toppled the HOA queen. It felt great, but I knew it wasn't over. Matilda wouldn't go down quietly. She'd try to twist things, weasel out. I was ready for whatever she threw my way. The fight wasn't done, but I'd just scored a big win. The next 8 days flew by like a whirlwind. I spent them tightening up the legal details, making sure everything was set to block Matilda's counterattack. I didn't expect her to slink away silently. She's too stubborn. She'd come back swinging, but I had a plan ready. Meanwhile, Foxglove Meadows kept backing me. Folks once silenced by fear now spoke out bold and clear. The HOA council, seeing Matilda wasn't untouchable, started distancing themselves. They knew the tide had turned and didn't want to sink with her. The knockout punch came on day 9, an HOA public apology. They canceled all 7 fines and rules on my property, admitting they'd overstepped. It was short, formal, not heartfelt, but to me, it was enough. A small, sweet victory. Matilda fought back, but the community wasn't hers anymore. Public pressure forced her to pack up and leave Foxglove Meadows 13 days after my post. Her farewell party? Not what she'd hoped. No one cared to cheer her on. She'd burned every bridge herself, leaving empty-handed. I stood there, watching her fade away, satisfaction spreading through me. Atlas, my loyal bull, ambled over, nudging me like he approved. This time, I'd won. If life's a book, Caesar and Matilda's Foxglove Meadows tale is a dog-eared chapter. No one saw it teaching such a big lesson. It's not just a farmer versus an HOA Karen. It mirrors quiet clashes in today's world, where personal power can cloud reason. Patience gets tested by dumb rules. I love how Caesar didn't just hold his ground. He sparked a unity wave, turning a personal fight into a community voice. It reminds me, in a click-spreading world, we've all got power to face unfairness. Not with blind rage, but with smarts and guts to defend what's right. Learn from Caesar. Don't let life's Matildas snuff your spark. Use it to light the way for others. Disclaimer. This story's for fun and learning, not to bash or offend anyone or anything. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Thanks for watching this video through. Wishing you a peaceful day. See you in the next one.